Mr. Posey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for holding this hearing on these important issues regarding the COVID-19 vaccination campaign. The vaccines are monumental achievement, the product of a massive government-wide effort to defeat this pandemic. Dr. Newsel, you were part of the development of the protocols for the two vaccines that we're using today, and I'm pleased to hear your testimony that Operation Warp Speed played an important role in getting these vaccines developed, tested, and in use in less than a year. You state that, quote, the closure of schools and lack of extracurricular activities is impacting the academic, social, and physical development of children with disproportionate impact on minorities. Persons of all ages are struggling with the effects of isolation, extreme lifestyle changes, and increased anxiety. Florida schools are open, yet it's surprising that while the CDC says it's safe for schools to open, we have states that are still locked down. Would you provide for the committee record studies documenting the harm to children resulting from school closures that you alluded to?
Yes, so thank you for your comments. And again, just to emphasize that the damages in terms of the pediatric population are disproportionate to minority communities. So as we're seeing in the adult population, the minority and disadvantaged communities are more likely to get COVID-19, and they're more likely to get severe disease from COVID-19. Similarly, the disadvantaged communities are less likely to have the tools, whether it's the computers, the ThinkPads, the mechanisms and the oversight for virtual learning. And so I can provide you references after the hearing, but they are falling more behind in their academics because of this disadvantage.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And each of the panelists can comment on this. I'd appreciate it. And it seems like there is so much to learn from our experience with this pandemic. We need to better understand everything from the origins of the viruses and the development of the therapies and vaccines to the pandemic preparedness and collaborations between federal, state, and local governments and public health officials. After 9/11, Congress appointed a commission to cut through the politics of finger pointing and focus on the facts. Last week, I introduced legislation to do the same thing for COVID. Do you think, each of you, that we could benefit from such a commission? Starting left to right.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I think in science, as others have suggested, we have hypotheses, we test the hypotheses, and we look to move forward at every step. So I do believe that it's always helpful to evaluate what has happened, whether it's an experiment or whether it's a program, evaluate what went well, evaluate what we can do better in the future. So yes, I think I don't know exactly what type of program or commission you're describing. I think it would be useful for lessons learned.
Thank you.
This is Phil Wong. I mean, certainly with most incidents, we do after actions and hot washes and find out lessons learned and what went right and what went wrong. So that's always a best practice for any event, I believe.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Keith Reed. I would say that we have learned a great deal and put into practice a lot of things we learned for years of practice in emergency response based off of what you initially referenced occurred after 9/11 and such. Those partnerships we've created have made a big difference in our ability to respond right now. But there were things that did not go as planned. There were things that we put into motion that certainly was not the way we expected it to roll out. So looking back on that and evaluating what worked and what did not would be incredibly valuable. And I think it would help us moving ahead to ensure we are prepared for the next pandemic or other major emergency that comes down the pike.
Thank you.
And I would just add, hopefully we can also learn from some of the behavioral and policy interventions. How did we do at getting people to mask? how did different kinds of lockdowns and stay-at-home orders work, and use the 50 states and local jurisdictions as sort of case studies to see what was effective.
Well, I thank the witnesses and see my time has expired and yield back, Madam Chair.